Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Happy Thursday. Today I'm super excited. We have a special guest with us this afternoon, Jeff. Jeff has a really amazing story that he's going to share with us about adrenal fatigue and also some really great information that I know a lot of you here in the group can relate to. So if you're joining and you have questions, please make sure you get them in the chat. I'll be monitoring that as we go along. But anyhow, let's just kind of dive right in. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeff. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Thank you for having me on here. It's an honor to be here, to be honest, 100%.
Thank you. Super excited. Like, you don't even know how excited I am for this conversation. So, so your area kind of specialty where you're really focusing a lot of your coaching energies is in the space of adrenal fatigue.
It's one of my specialties that I've noticed that lots of people have issues with in terms of so we have this stigma of the grind mentality, and we have this idea that we need to just go balls to the walls all day long every day to accomplish our goals. And when in reality, that's not the case whatsoever. I can dive into that right now, but I'm not sure if you want to can lead into that or not, or and kind of go from there. But yeah, essentially, go ahead.
Right. No, I think, well, of course, I want to dive into things, but I do want to ask, like, how you got into this space of being so interested in adrenal function.
For sure. So essentially, back in the day, like when I had a very sedentary lifestyle of when I was addicted to video games and things of that nature. That's when I got into I was introduced to Eric Thomas. If your group is familiar with him, he's known as the hip hop preacher. He's the guy that I consider to be the grandfather or the godfather of the grind mentality. That
Mm.
to essentially no pain, no gain, no days off. Just do what you have to do. Like bring the fucking fire, bring the heat. Wake up early, go to bed late. Things of that nature to kind of go from there. And so I got that approach. I said, cool, let's go. So for me, I had a full-time job. I was a full-time college student while working out 5, 6 days a week all at the same time. And I was getting I was essentially working out twice a day, doing high intensity exercises, 10 sets of those each at 4 o'clock in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I was doing like sprints, 30, 60s, high intensity shit after that. And then while being a full-time student for school, at the time I was going in for law enforcement, while being a full-time employee at work, doing 40 hours a week and getting 5 hours of sleep max per night. And then being a natural skinny guy, I had the goal of trying to get bigger and stronger. But at the same time, I was also deadly afraid of losing my abs and having body fat because I was without realizing at the time I was anorexic. So I was subconsciously restricting myself with calories without even realizing it, while doing all of these things that were tearing my body apart from the inside out. Of And so essentially, I was working on 5 hours of sleep or less, doing high intensity shit all day long every day, and I did that for 9 months straight, 3 times, and that's what led me to me doing some coursework through holistic health. That's how I learned and diagnosed myself, so to speak, with adrenal fatigue, which from the medical terminology of it's known as hyperthyroidism is a technical medical term for that. But for us in the coaching space and the health space, it's easier to view it as adrenal fatigue or adrenal exhaustion and kind of go from there. I essentially got into it by learning the hard way of what not to do, of what legit overtraining looks like, what it feels like. So essentially, I'll look back my notes here quick. So after doing this for about 9 months straight, I couldn't sleep. I was tired and wired all day long, super jittery, super irritable with a terrible bad attitude. I could not focus on anything. I had brain fog. I was constantly sore all day. I had joint aches and pains all throughout my body. I was constantly sick all the time. I had a low sex drive, low libido, essentially from head to toe. And those are all also signs of low testosterone as well. But they're also just simply from training way too hard and putting zero effort into recovery protocols, on top of being a anorexic and not doing anything in terms of calories, carbs, anything of that nature to replenish what I was losing, because I was so focused on the drive and didn't give a shit about what it did to my body. And as a result, that's what happened with it.
Right. Yeah. No, you know what's crazy is I can relate to that 1000%. I spent several years being a single mom. I worked 3 jobs. I worked out at boot camp first thing in the morning. I didn't freaking eat. Then I went to work. Then I worked some more. And then I came home and I got some coffee and some more pre-workout and I went to work. And I slept less than 4 hours a day. And it's crazy because Facebook, it sends you those notifications. And for like all of last month, I got one daily that I could not sleep. Like I would be awake in the middle of the night in my 3 hours of sleep that I got going, why can't I sleep? So yeah, crazy. I think there's a lot of women on Facebook watching. So ladies, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll make sure that we get those answered for you today.
As well with that, to add even more to that too, when it comes to moms and being a newborn parents or whatever, it didn't even occur to me until recently. So my brother and sister-in-law just had their second child, but even for their first child, like 4 years ago, sleep is like what's that for like a new mom, and there's honestly nothing you can do to get more sleep. It's called, so unfortunately it's called damage control, of doing what you can throughout the day, and just your body eventually adapts to it. But like I can't imagine what you ladies go through with being pregnant and going through parenthood, especially with that, because there's literally nothing you can do. It's just dealing with it as you go and hope for the best. There's no like get X amount of sleep, get X amount of food in. Cool, I'll try being a parent with newborn and see how that goes for you. Which, so people that say that have no fucking idea. But like, I can relate to that now since I've seen that firsthand before. So I respect the hell out of your efforts and women that go through that, because I can't relate to that whatsoever. But like, I can I can sympathize with it in terms of like what you're going through. And there's really not any good there's not a good solution for that except to just um deal with kind of deal with it as you go, and worry about the damage, so to speak, and kind of recover from that as you get more time for yourself to kind of go from there. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
my way of kind of relating to that a little bit.
Right. Well, no, I think it's like really important because you said there's nothing we can do about it, and there's not. I mean, we have to care for other human beings, but you made a super excellent point in that you can work on the damage control, and that looks like giving up your grind attitude. It's giving yourself more grace. It's feeding your body. It's, allowing yourself to have a nap. It's not feeling guilty if you can't get to the gym because that's not what's important. And then that kind of goes into like, life has different seasons and, you need to understand that you cannot live in an on season, like you can't go balls to the walls at 365. You cannot do it. Your body will keep score and keep track of, all the damage you're doing. So giving yourself some grace is super important. Um, so no, I totally relate to your story of how you got into this space. It's super wonderful. So if someone, is dieting and they're exercising, when would you say would be a good time that they need to start looking out maybe for some signs that, there's being a hit on the adrenals?
I would say, and so I primarily work with guys. It's so for me, guys are way easier. But
Yeah.
for the sake of with women here, that for being human in general, that signs of like it takes you forever to heal from something, soreness, tightness, you're tired and wired all day long, you have zero energy to work with, your mood just is all over the goddamn place, your energy levels are all over the place, you need energy drinks and pre-workout jelly just to stay awake, you can't progress with the gym, you're tired and wired, you can't sleep for shit, you can't focus, brain fog, things of that nature. When you when you lose your appetite, when you lose your sex drive, when you lose your desire for anything aside from just I just want to lay in bed and just lay there for the next 12 hours and hope for the best type of thing. Essentially, when you lose a sense of like yourself, and you lose all energy, all drive to do anything, that's at that point it becomes a matter of let's pump the brakes here, take a few days off in the gym, actually take a week off in the fucking gym, because more than likely you're probably spending 5+ days a week in the gym doing a lot of stuff there, when in reality the gym is designed to create a stress response, so to speak, and not like heal you, depending on the intent with that. But signs of that, essentially, everything catabolic that you can think of: low energy levels, brain fog, can't focus, can't sleep, can't recover, can't progress. Especially if you're noticing that you're going in there, you're already like hurting, and you're on the verge of throwing up just thinking about it. You get in there and you're just like, oh, why am I doing this again? And then you probably shouldn't be doing that in the first place, because one of my first mentors in the space, Paul Check, if anyone's familiar with him, that he mentions a fantastic point with the gym, that in terms of like progression and things of that nature with the gym, if you cannot progress, by 1 to 3% at the gym, you do not belong in the gym. You belong at home resting, getting more calories and getting more sleep in, and resting to heal up and not going back in there, because the gym creates a stress response that breaks you down. The gym does not heal you. It breaks you down more, depending on how you look at that. But um science wise, essentially, like, you're just defeated, you're drained, you're exhausted. At that point, the gym is not the place for you. If that's your way of getting your steps in for walking, sure. But if you're trying to lift weights or to get stronger, put on some muscle for that butt, things of that nature, like, take a break, take a week off, recover, fill your cup back up, and go from there. That's 100% what I would do with that.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's excellent. Would you say, so if someone does not go to the gym, but their primary form of exercise is running, would you say that the same protocols would apply to someone that is just, like a long distance runner?
I would say that more to yes, to a different degree, yes. And I think that more or less has to do with what your recovery protocols are going on when you're not running, how much sleep you're getting, and if you're getting in enough fuel, so to speak, to replenish what you're losing in that run.
Mhm.
As well as what's even more overlooked than nutrition and anything else with running is your shoes. Um, I worked with a lady that actually taught me a lot about. She was like a veteran marathon runner. Lisa, and I think it was, or Lisa Alton. So she mentioned that shoes, like, replacing your shoes every X amount of
Mhm.
miles, or time wise, is a far bigger makes a much bigger difference with running than anything that you can do with nutrition wise. But, like, um sleep, carbs especially, and doing specific things to strengthen your body for that run are all huge in general. But what was the question again? I have massive scatterbrain here.
Okay, no, you were getting it. Um, just if someone goes into the gym and the workouts are not progressing, so you think that they should go through a restoration protocol, give themselves some rest, give themselves some more food. So I'd asked if the same kind of a protocol would apply to someone that is running, and essentially you answered that.
Yeah, so when it comes to running, in my experience of working with marathon runners, as well as being coached myself by a veteran marathon runner, shoes are huge. Anything that you can do to prevent injury. So in fact, with that too, so the closer that you get to the event, I'm assuming it's some type of a marathon with that, is that you want to do everything that you can to actually to slow down a little bit to prevent being injured before you get to the actual run.
Mhm.
Because the people that I've worked with when it comes to running and performance based things, that they go balls to the walls. So their biggest struggle was slowing down to prevent injuries, and to be able to pace themselves through that run instead of gas themselves out right away. But the closer that you get to that event, the less that you want to do, and the more you want to focus on maintenance things such as your shoes, such as the preparation of essentially, like, preseason things, of, like, making sure that you have the good habits of getting in um that gel pack of Gatorade or whatever every 20 minutes, or getting in the fuel that you need for the protein, the calories every hour or whatever, making sure that your shoes are in good condition, and are broken in for you, to prevent anything that you can do to prevent yourself from getting injured, while setting yourself up for success with the habits that you need for that event itself, to make sure that you fucking crush it and kind of go from there.
And if someone is, say, under fueling like tremendously, because running requires a lot of calories, like it burns through a lot of calories. But if they're tremendously under fueling, is it the running going to have the same impact on adrenal function?
So yes and no with that. You may experience it at a different level with that, but if you're underfueling yourself, you're definitely going to feel that in terms of not being able to produce the same amount of output that you would if you were properly, like, if you had the calories to go with that. Because at that point, you're going to feel more like draining and lethargic from a fuel standpoint, and not really from, like, a mindset standpoint. As I'm sure the group knows, with running, that's more mental than anything else. But if you're drained from, like, a fuel standpoint, that's going to start hurting you with that's going to start affecting your joints, start affecting your overall body, and that's going to actually promote you to more injuries from that alone, from simply essentially being like, if you have the eating disorder of restricting your calories of trying to be lighter as possible for that, while not considering the performance aspects of it, of the fuel that you need to perform with that. I do believe that that would affect you eventually with adrenal fatigue, especially if you are neglecting the carbs with that as well, which are going to be huge for that. Um, Especially with ladies, carbs and fats are going to be huge for that. Because in my experience, that, as I'm sure that you know as well, that carbs are more for like quick energy source, where whereas fats are more going to be are more meant to maintain hormone levels. And you'll notice, right, and women are literally experts in this of in terms of hormone regulation, to where you'll know right away if your mood and your hormones are all over the goddamn place, because you're experts with that by nature. If you're not getting in enough fat by itself, you'll be able to tell that pretty fucking quick. And then with carbs, you'll notice that when your energy starts dropping like crazy, and you have to rely on energy drinks and things just to stay awake, that's going to affect adrenals 100% in the long run with that. It's just a matter of time before that happens.
Right. Right. No, that's so true. I just kind of wanted to give our listeners another visual, because I know we have a lot of people that don't actually go to the gym, and they're doing
Sure.
running, and they're doing, the beach body workouts, the high intensity stuff. Um, but so you did bring up an interesting thing when you first started talking that I wanted to come back to, is that when you go into the doctors and you're tired, you feel like crap, you got all this stuff going on, and they're like, oh, your labs, maybe there is something wrong with your thyroid, but you, like, everything else is normal. What, because the doctor will like never diagnose adrenal fatigue. I have a client with adrenal insufficiency, like her body is not capable of producing cortisol anymore, and that is an entirely separate issue. But your doctor is never going to say, hey, you have stage 3 adrenal fatigue. So if a person wanted to be proactive, what are some of those markers on their labs that would help them to know, like, where they are with their adrenal health?
In terms of like blood work and things of that nature, I can't. That's outside of my scope of being able to comment on that. But just know that the longer you are depleted, so essentially when you have the signs of thyroidism or hypo and adrenal exhaustion, the longer that you have that, the longer it takes to recover from that, with essentially going back to very, very low intensity movements of walking and stretching for months and things of that nature. But the blood work and the panels on that, I would just more or less look at the signs, the symptoms of that before I would look at blood work and panels. Because I can't even speak on that by itself. I'm not a medical professional with that, but I would just look at the symptoms of like tired and wired, jittery, can't focus, can't sleep. Um, you have no energy to do anything. You're constantly aches and pains and things of that nature. Like those signs to me are more red flags than anything like a panel would do for me. Because so depending on the doctor itself, on the doctor itself, depending on their specialty, they also have their own lens or their own scope of what they're going to see with that. So if you look at like a doctor of medicine that's in for health, they may look at a panel and say that your testosterone levels are that your levels are fine. Whereas if you look at someone for more of a performance aspect, they're going to say your levels are super low for what you're trying to do. We need to up that shit up. Whereas the medical doctor would be like, you need to like calm that, for the purpose of blood pressure and cholesterol and things for health purposes. Whereas this other guy's gonna be like, hey, we need to up that shit if you want to accomplish your run event in like 6 months from now. For panel wise, I can't speak on that because I'm not a medical professional, unfortunately, with that. But I would 100%. So a free way to do that is to always assess the symptoms of it, because symptoms don't lie. And to me, like, symptoms are a dead giveaway and red flag of what's going on with this. And if they persist, that's a problem. And at that point, especially when they do keep popping up, that's a red flag of let's pump the brakes, step back, and do more resting and less activity, especially high performance stuff, especially running at a pace of a heart rate of 150 or higher. Stop doing that. Let's start walking again, get all the symptoms back under control. Let's wake up, feel amazing, feel energetic to where we can go back at 100% and then go from there. But once we start feeling like I want to throw up before we start this run, let's pump the brakes here, step back a little bit and reevaluate that to go back to square one, to go back to homeostasis, so to speak, and then go from there. But before we drive ourselves into the ground, before we even get to the actual event, and now we're already fucked before we even start in the first place, type of thing. Did that answer that question?
Yes, no, it was.
Okay. Okay.
No, I think that was great. And there's some useful information inside of that as well. So if someone, is having some of these symptoms, and they're, not exploring the option with their doctor, who, like we have determined, is probably not going to be super supportive anyhow. What are some of your favorite methods for, helping to bring some restoration to the adrenals?
On the So first and foremost, to stay away from the gym altogether, aside from, in this case, walking is fantastic. Anything with low intensity impact on the body, your adrenal system, as well as your nervous system as well, to keep stress levels down, to walking, yoga, anything that you can do to relax yourself, take a hot shower, a hot bath, go to get a hot tub, a massage. All of those things are amazing. A foam rolling, anything that you can do to relax yourself, to relieve stress from your body and from inside out, to do low intensity movements are not stressing your joints out, your muscles out, your nervous system out, anything of that nature. Drink more water, drink less alcohol, eat clean foods, drink clean fluids, anything that's not going to irritate your body in any way, especially if you have an intolerance to that. Anything that you can do to heal yourself instead of causing stress to yourself that you don't need is 100% what I would do. And first and foremost, stay away from the gym, stay away from, no more running. Low impact stuff like walking is awesome, because I say no running. So the biggest issue that this group is probably gonna have with running is that you can't tell me not to run. Cool. But let me ask you this: what's more important to you, being able to make that event and by sacrificing a month of walking, or risk everything for your ego of running, and then, oh, I got injured and now I can't make the event altogether? So that's what I would do with that. Anything that you can do to relieve stress from the body from inside out, and to focus on low intensity movements and to heal yourself from within, that's 100% what I would do with that. How long that takes is on a case by case basis. It depends on how long it happened in the first place and how messed up you are from that angle, and that's what's going to determine how long it takes you to get out of it. There's no answer to that. For me, it took me upwards of 3 months for every time that I went through that. And the longer, if you're, and that was with about 9 months doing it. So imagine doing that for a couple of years. It's going to take you even longer to get out of that. So there's no answer as to how long it's going to take you. It's a matter of listening to your biofeedback of what your body's telling you. If you're waking up with good energy levels, a good mood, a good attitude, your body feels good, you feel amazing, life is good, you have energy levels, your sex drive is back, you can focus. When you have indicators of biofeedback that are good, that's when you know you're on the right track, and keep going forward with that. That's 100% what I would do to overcome all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I was going to ask you, like, is there a specific length of protocol? But you nailed it. It's kind of like when someone comes in and they've been dieting, for 20 years, and they're like, well, how long is it going to take to get my metabolism to work right? I don't know, dude. We're just going to implement and see.
I mean, back to the McDonald's freaking analogy, the comment with that too, of cool. So it took you 10 years of eating McDonald's and shit to be 300 pounds. How
Right.
long do you think it's gonna take you to undo all that? And the movie the movie Super Size Me, in that movie, it took him 3 months to get super fat. It took him, I think, upwards of a year to lose all that. So
Right.
that's an example right there of, it's going to take you probably twice as long to go back to day one than it took you to get there in the first place. So to be more realistic with the expectation of the timeline of achieving that outcome is kind of, and as I'm sure that you've probably seen of, I've been overweight, fat, and had joint issues or whatever for 5 years of poor choices, but now I want to be fit, trim, and run a fucking marathon David Goggins style in 5 minutes. Let's do it. Hate to break it to you, but probably not going to happen. I would advise you to invest in the lottery, and maybe go to the casino, go from there. But I'm probably not the best fit for you if that's what if that's what your outcome is. If you want a realistic, honest answer, and you have a time frame, a couple of years or whatever, let's talk. Until then, go from there, type of thing.
Yeah. No, I do think people really, really struggle with having realistic expectations I mean, it's hard, and we.
It's also human nature with we're looking always looking for that quick fix. That's why if you listen to the radio, it's nonstop ads about fat loss surgeries, weight pills, things of that
Mhm.
nature of the quick fix. In reality, they have very good marketing of an hour of your time, no work required, no specific diets required. Go in there, I wave my wand, put you to sleep in an hour later or a day or whatever later, you have everything is solved for you. Best of luck to you. So
Right.
I mean, it's very
Yeah.
good marketing for that. So to be fair,
Right. No, that's so true. And it feeds into the I need this to be right now. But no, there was another question I wanted to ask you, but I've forgotten it now. Which is okay. We have a lot of women in the group that are watching, which is fantastic. So thanks for joining us today, ladies. If you have questions, please drop them into the chat and we'll make sure that we get them answered for you. Kayla online did say that uh, she would have some emotional breakdowns out of nowhere, even over the smallest things. Would that be a symptom of adrenal fatigue?
that's definitely a red flag that you are more than likely overtraining with the combination of going too hard and we're not getting enough time to recover. So as Andrew Garrettson always like to say, you're either catabolic or anabolic. Which side of the table are you more veering towards? And the more anabolic you are, good. The more catabolic you are, you're going to start seeing those symptoms of aches, pains, sleep, performance issues, not being able to recover, walking around sore all day. You can't run like you could last week. So I wouldn't necessarily say that you have adrenal fatigue and exhaustion right away. I would just more say that you're more leaning toward that you're more catabolic than you are anabolic. I mean, from there, that's a good sign to take a step back to cut the volume in half and to sleep more, eat some more carbs, drink some more water, and see how you're doing the next day, 2 days from now, and go from there. If it still persists, keep doing that until you feel better. Eventually, you're going to feel better, and it may you may have a slight setback with that, but that's still better than being absolutely fucked with an injury and
Mhm.
destroyed hormones. That's going to take you 3 months to 6 months or a year longer to recover from that. So the sooner that you can identify it, being able to take a step back, to sleep more, eat more carbs, eat more calories, get more fuel in, and go from there, the better off you're going to be with that.
No, 100%. So, two questions. There are different stages to adrenal fatigue, correct?
Yeah, there's like probably three or four. It's
That's
so
what I
I've heard
thought.
anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a method to like differentiate between these?
That's a good question. Essentially, like stage one is to me that's normal. That's like essentially you're working out 2, 3 days a week. In this case, you're running 50, 100 miles a week or whatever. You're going through the motions, you're putting in the work. You're going to be tired, you're going to be exhausted. That's actually a good thing. That means that your body is adapting to things, which is good. Stage two, you're starting to get more. You're starting to put more I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this. You're starting to up the intensity of everything. Your heart rate is you're going from like 100 hearts per minute to like 150. You're doing that for a longer duration of time. You're running more miles, things of that nature. You're starting to feel it in your body. You're waking up kind of sore more. You may feel more tired and exhausted. That right there is actually the stage that you want, especially when you're going in competition of like marathons and running events in general. It's when you get into stage three that I was in for a couple of times of like you're waking up tired and wired, you can't sleep, your body is just destroyed, and you can't do anything. At that stage, it's time to take a step back because the more you go at that stage, the more you're in stage four, which is absolute like you have nothing left to work with. You're running on fumes at this point. It's only a matter of time before you have an injury or you drive yourself in the ground to the point where you completely burn out your entire adrenal system as well as your nervous system. That's going to take 6 months to a year longer to recover from, if longer than that. And so stage three is where I have the most experience in when it comes to identifying those red flags. Stage one is essentially that's normal in terms of when you're putting in the work to accomplish X goal, especially for the event. Stage two is where you're going to get more into like the postseason, so to speak, of where you're really getting into the workouts to prepare your body to handle the actual events. both from a mental point of view, which is huge with running, as well as from a physical point of view of getting your body, your joints, whatever, prep for it. It's when you're going beyond that of those symptoms of you're falling apart is when I would take a step back. But I think stage 1 to 2 is going to be your golden phase in terms of where you want to be to maximize your performance without having to worry about driving yourself into the ground to having to recover from that for 6 months or longer afterwards with that, to answer that question.
Right. No, I think that was super helpful. I also wanted to ask you, you did mention something about adrenal function impacting hormone function. And I know that you work with primarily men, but would women also see negative hormone, repercussions from having adrenal fatigue?
Yes. So women are actually more, what's the word here? More sensitive to this, especially with hormones, since by nature being trying to word this, especially when it comes to the diet, more so with women, is that um more so when you're getting into eating disorders, that fats, fat, and carbs are bad. When you start getting rid of those things, especially I'm gonna the more that you deprive yourself of the essential nutrients that you need for hormones as well as adrenals, the more you're going to feel, especially as a woman, because if you start depleting yourself of the fats and cholesterol that you need for hormones, estrogen, all of those things, you're going to feel it with everything from your mood, how tired you are, your performance with running, everything else, which, since the body operates as one unit, that's also going to have a circle effect with your adrenal system, because your adrenal system has to work overtime to make up for that, for making up for the fact that you're depriving yourself of fuel. It's all a complete circle that, to answer your question, yes, you will 100% feel it with both adrenal fatigue as well as hormonal fatigue with that. So adrenal fatigue is it more relates to like high performance stuff. So for the context of running, if you're doing a lot of like sprinting or a lot of time spent with your heart rate at about 120 to 140 or higher in zones of, like, let's say zone 3 or 4 or whatever, if you're spending a lot of time there and not getting in the carbs, the sleep, and the fuel that you need to recover, that eventually you're going to feel that pretty quick. And when that starts happening, you're going to notice that your mood's going to be all over the place and your adrenals are going to be tanked to the point where you'll start feeling that with you don't have that oomph or that drive or energy to do anything anymore. And it's all full circle with hormones, adrenals, as well as nutrition and sleep to go with all of those things.
Yeah, no, such an excellent point. I wanted to ask too, on your background, Jeff, you have, well, obviously, I'm thinking this pertains to your coaching since you're adrenal specific, but it looks like you've blocked off caffeine. And
So
I
I actually forgot that was still up there. So I was going through a phase like a year ago of essentially that I had the ability to work out without coffee, caffeine, energy drinks, pre-workout, or headphones.
okay.
That was during a phase of where I would see so many guys. So because I train guys, I would see so many people that they couldn't even work out without pre-workout or headphones to motivate them to go work out. Whereas for me, I look at that as a mindset thing of, cool. So what's how to word this? What is encouraging you to work on the first? What is it that you're trying to accomplish, and why is that important to you in the first place? And to go back to, as David Goggins says, your mental Rolodex of what is your story, your background, what is your driving force, like what's encouraging you to do that. And so, perfect example that I love to give, especially with guys, is that, let's say, for example, that your life is in danger. Someone has a gun to your head, or your wife or your children are in danger of being like robbed or beaten or sexually assaulted, whatever the case is. As a man, do you need pre-workouts and headphones to come to their rescue to handle a situation, or can you do that without that? You probably don't need headphones, you probably don't need pre-workout, and you probably don't need energy drinks to do that. Cool. So why is that you can do that at a moment's notice, but you cannot go work out to get fit, get stronger, to be more attractive to your wife and things of that nature without all that shit? Just saying. I mean,
No,
yes, there's gonna be times when you're down and lack energy, lack motivation. We've all been there. We're all human. But at the same time, like, I think it's more a matter of like mindset hacks of being able to go back to why am I doing this in the first place? Why does this matter to me? And what does all this mean in the first place when it goes, especially if you have a family and your children or your spouse or whatever, if you're doing it for them, oh my God, that is beyond, that is more powerful than anything I could ever tell you. Being a guy that does not have a wife or kids or whatever, I if that's not a powerful enough driving force for you, you should probably check your pulse after that. So yeah, I actually forgot that was still up there, so I appreciate that you pointed that out.
Okay.
That's
No, no, that's cool. I thought it was just, like obviously if you're having adrenal fatigue, you want to avoid any kind of stimulants, but I just wondered like why headphones were also.
And because with that too, I in my current corporate job right now,
Mhm.
I worked with a guy that he was playing with going on a keto diet to lose weight, and I also noticed that he was taking pre-workout just for energy. I'm just like, what is happening right now? You should not need a stimulant just to stay awake, because he also made the mistake of not eating anything throughout the day, eating like 1 or 2 meals of keto-based stuff, and I'm just like, let's time out here and rethink this. But it's more a matter of I saw the same things every day of guys that were waking up at 4 in the morning after 5 hours of sleep,
Mhm.
needing all this shit just to stay awake,
Right.
deprive themselves of calories and fuel because carbs and fat are bad still apparently, and working out
Mhm.
for 2 hours a day, doing 50 plus sets of exercises, and then going home to your family and you can't even stay awake. And then I'm just like, dude, because this all comes back to the grind mentality. That's
Mhm.
what I wanted to address as well, is that I love the grind mentality, but it's taken out of context,
Mhm.
and it's marketed towards men and women that live a sedentary lifestyle that need that spark to get up and do what they need to do to accomplish their goals, but not so much to a point where you're sacrificing sleep, you're sacrificing time with your family, and sacrificing everything just to stay awake. It's more a matter of like, if I'm sitting on the couch all day watching Netflix or watching social media on my phone for 2 hours, what else can I be doing right now to accomplish my goals? And from there to not so much to completely sacrifice sleep, to completely sacrifice fuel and all those things. It's more or less to, what is one thing I can do right now that's going to help me accomplish my goals, versus watching Netflix or spending 3 hours scrolling through social media all night, and then 1 in the morning comes by, oh shit, I'd be at work in 5 hours, and then fuck me type of thing. That's kind of where that came from, of not needing those crutches, so to speak, to do what you need to do to work out or to run to accomplish your goals, but instead to view them as non-negotiables, to view them as these are my essential tasks, and I don't need a pre-workout or a external stimulant to get me fired up to go save my family, or whatever the case is. Using that analogy, and that's kind of where that stemmed from, and how to use the grind mentality in your benefit and use it to help you, but not so much to drive yourself in the ground, but instead to use it to accomplish your goals in a realistic fashion that's going to help you, give you more energy to live the life that you desire without destroying yourself in the process with that. That's kind of the context, and that's part of the context that I preach with that. And that's part of where that came from, with those 4 things that you see right there with that. But I appreciate you bringing that up though, because that helped branch off into that, which is the topic that I also wanted to bring up today as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I think that was super awesome. And I think, what you said about making these your essential tasks. Like we talk about non-negotiables all the time, but I really like essential tasks because, we're not necessarily the ones in charge of protecting our home or whatever, but it is our choice and it should be our non-negotiable to get up and eat the foods that we need to eat and go to the gym and focus on our strength, because we are still like the center hub of our families. Like we're still responsible for a lot of things. And if we don't do those two things, it really negatively impacts our health, especially as we start to get older. I mean, if we're under eating, if we're not exercising, we don't have any other choice but to, um, to get weak and to develop osteoporosis. And then what? Someone else is going to care for us. And that's not where I'm going with my life. And I think that a lot of the women in the group don't want to go there. So what you said about making that be an essential task is so, so relevant. I love that.
I love that. And I want to add one more thing to that too, for the context of women, is that in the event that you are struggling to find motivation for those essentials of eating the right foods, to meal prep, to go for a run, to go for a walk or whatever, to stay fit, how can you justify telling your children to make good choices if you yourself aren't doing that yourself. To be the example for your children, especially for your daughters in that case, to be like, hey, I'm doing all this to show you that I can do it as whatever age I'm at, that has a lot more miles on than my 5-year-old, or whatever the case is. And therefore, I'm showing you that I'm right there with you. And later, I maybe have your daughter, your son, or whatever do those things with you to set them up for success in life too. And then there's something else I want to add that, but now I forgot what that was. Oh, that's so annoying when that happens. Oh yeah, too. So essentially, like as for women, not only for your children, but to be there for your husband or your boyfriend or your friend or your friends to look good for him and to be and to support him as well, because for that it's all one unit. Like it's not just me or the other. It's to be there for him so that way he can be there for you and vice versa. And the more that you're doing for the family, for your husband and for yourself, the better wife and girlfriend that you're going to be for that relationship to make the family grow the way it should be. And I love that. So I appreciate you bringing that up, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The whole family nucleus is impacted by the
Yes,
choice that we choose to make every single morning when we get up. And it's not
100%.
that we have to go buy motivation or find it somewhere. It lives inside of us. And we have a choice every single day when we get up, like what we're going to do with that.
100%. And to be fair, like all like the gurus and like the inspirational people on like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and whatever,
Mm.
they're coming out to say it's definitely not easy, but at the same time, like when you're living a life that you already don't like, they both suck, but one life is guaranteed to give you a better overall long-term life. One life is guaranteed to leave you where you were before that trade in the first place. So it's a matter of which one you value more. They're both going to suck, but which one do you actually value more? One is guaranteeing you that you have a chance to live your life. One's guaranteeing you that you have a chance. The other is guaranteeing you that you will do nothing and be right where you are 10 years from now doing nothing and be wake up miserable and going through all that crap. Whereas this one, you at least have a chance to be there for your family, to be a fantastic wife, to build a good family, to set your children up for success and go from there. So it's a matter of which one do you want, and they're both hard. Like neither one is easy. It's just a matter of which one is more important to you that you want. Like you already know what this one feels like. So what's stopping you from doing whatever to achieve this one? And
Right.
kind of go from there.
Like pick the hard thing because life is hard.
Sense.
Right. Ladies, if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat and we'll get them answered. But was there anything else that we needed to go over today, Jeff, that we didn't touch on? I feel like we covered a lot of good information.
For sure. I mainly wanted to discuss like the grind mentality and that it lacks context and how to leverage that for yourself to improve your life, which we covered that. We covered stimulants, we covered running, we covered signs and symptoms of what to look for, the early stages of that, and the worse that gets, the more we should step back instead of going forward. Because doctors, and so not to hate against doctors and everything, but
Uh,
they're not looking at the lifestyle, they're looking at the symptoms. And honestly, so after learning from Jocko Willink, if your group has heard of him at all, he is the godfather of extreme ownership and taking accountability for yourself. So for me, I take responsibility and ownership for my health to that I don't want to rely on a doctor because the problem, not really the problem, the situation with that is that a doctor of medicine, they're known by the general public to be the experts of health and things of that nature, but it's also becoming more known that their specialty is allopathic medication, which by definition treats symptoms and not looking at the core root cause of the problem, which oftentimes is lifestyle habits. And speaking of which, actually, the last time I went to a doctor, this is kind of a short funny story. When I had like bronchitis or a severe cold or whatever going on, they literally asked me, what are your symptoms? Congestion, coughing, lung, whatever. She gave me literally a plastic bag full of medicine and says, here you go. Is there anything else? Never asked me lifestyle, stress, water, your sleep, your nutrition, any it was simply what are your symptoms. So like anything else you want, here's a bottle of medicine to treat those symptoms. Off you go. I mean, she was kind of funny about it, but at the same time, looking at that years later, I'm just like, cool. There's never any questions about my lifestyle, stress, sleep, nutrition, breathing. like for that matter, which is still overlooked. All of those things that are the basics of life, that are what's going to either make us or break us from the inside out, versus here's a pill to solve this, and then I'll go back to the habits that are what caused it to happen in the first place. And then and there's me branching off again into holistic health.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
love holistic health. That's really where our coaching has branched off to in the last 2 years. And it's just, I mean, it's lack of service by our current medical system. And because, like you said, they do not look at the whole picture. They look at the numbers on the page. They ask you what you feel like, and then they give you a pill.
on the plus side, though, from based on what I've seen, the general public has become more aware of let's go to the doctor, but take that with a grain of salt. And from
Mhm.
there, let's take a look at our lifestyle of like stress levels, eating, and so we're becoming a lot more aware of to look at the bigger picture rather than just rely on what the doctor says for more pills. So I'm glad to see that. And I'm not trying to discredit doctors. It took them 8 years to learn that stuff, and I applaud their efforts for that. But I just think that um, holistic health, us coaches and trainers, that we can take a better approach to that by looking at the source of it mainly through lifestyle and choices versus throwing a pill at it and hope for the best type of thing. And I just wish that, so on top of that too, like if you look at it from like a business standpoint, they have to see a lot of patients every single day, and they probably don't have time to spend 3 hours digging into your life. And I get that part of it. So that's the business issue with it. And that's also why I like to take the approach of taking responsibility for my own health and be like,
Mhm.
okay, I had symptoms. Okay, let's now take a step back to look at our lifestyle. I didn't sleep for shit for the last 2 days. My eating was terrible. My stress levels were through the goddamn roof. Huh? And now I'm having all the symptoms of coughing, a fever, headache. Weird, right? Crazy. So holistic health, it's all full circle at the end of the day. And so essentially, the more that we steer away from that, the worse it gets.
Mhm.
And with essentially the basic principles of life, to which, especially for here the context of women's health and running, um, the more that we overlook the basic principles, the further that we're gonna be for that. And the more that we ignore the symptoms of, in this case, adrenal fatigue, exhaustion, hormone depletion, things of that nature, the worse it's going to be. Unless you're already in competition of the runs tomorrow, cool, there's an exception for that. But if you're 6 months out, let's play the long game. I'll take a step back, rest up for a month, recover, versus, oh shit, I just broke my femur. I'm now off for the next 6 months, and then training went out the window, everything. So play the long game. Look at it from a context point of view of, is the event next week, or is it 6 months from now or a year from now? Kind of take things into consideration without making an adjustment from there on the fly, versus let's kill myself and drive myself in the ground for an event that's happening a year from now.
Right.
So just saying.
Yeah, no, super, super valid point. I think you brought so much really great information, to our community today, and I just want to thank you. I think we went way over the time that we had allotted.
All good.
It was good. It was really, really excellent. So thank you for spending so much time with us this afternoon, Jeff.
Absolutely. I appreciate the having the opportunity and the honor of being here for you ladies here. I love talking about adrenal exhaustion and the grind mentality and how that can um connect with you ladies with running and how that correlates with that, hormones, all that stuff. And it's, for me, it was an honor to be here, and I love bringing it forward with that. So it was an absolute honor to be a guest with this and to share my experience with that. And I hope that something I said or something that we said here was helpful for you ladies to improve your running abilities and to improve the rest of your life and go from there. So thank you.
Well, thank you. We've got a lot of clapping hands in the comments, so that's a good sign. All right,
I'm
but
flattered. I appreciate that.
well, thank you, ladies, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. I hope that, like Jeff said, that you were able to find something of value and be able to take that home. If you do have questions or comments, you're always, always more than welcome to message me. Jeff, if they wanted to reach out to you, could they do that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Send me a DM on Facebook. My DMs are always open. That's my main platform. Facebook, Jeff Bourne. email, that's a little bit more complicated in terms of like I can put that in the chat, or maybe not. I mean, Facebook DM is probably the best for that. It's the quickest way I'll probably respond to that. Yeah, so just search for me if any more questions on adrenal exhaustion or just life in general, hit me up. I'm always open to answer questions and to give people life advice and kind of go from there.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you. All right, ladies, thank you for joining us this afternoon. I really appreciate it. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next week.